Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Let me say to my viewing audience, Happy New Year, and I hope that you're having a wonderful year thus far. Today I will have guests on, Mayor Jeff Luken and also County Commissioner Ricky Wolf, and they will be talking about the West Point Lake issue. So make sure that you stay tuned for that interview in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Jeff Luken, Mayor for the City of LaGrange, with an important public service announcement. Recent proposals by the Army Corps will result in lowering the water levels of West Point Lake. This change to the guide curve for West Point Lake will result in a summer pool that is shortened by 2 months, a reduction of 40%. These proposed changes will reduce the full pool of our lake within the prime recreational season, affecting boating, fishing, swimming, skiing, and economic interests across our entire county. As bad as conditions have been at West Point Lake over the past several years, this Army Corps proposal will only make matters worse. A petition has been created by a group of concerned local leaders addressed to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Mobile District, focused on stopping this reduction to West Point Lake levels. We're asking you to take action now to prevent any further loss to our important economic asset for LaGrange and Troup County. We'll submit this petition to the Corps on January 14th. We need your support. Please take a moment to read and sign this petition on the City of LaGrange website and let your voice be heard to prevent this tragedy to West Point Lake. Thank you.
Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I have two gentlemen sitting down with me today that I think no one needs an introduction to, but we're going to do it anyway. I have with me the Mayor of City of LaGrange, Jeff Luken, and I also have the County Commissioner, Ricky Wolf. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to both of you gentlemen as well. Well, you know, it's been a time, quite some time since I sit down with both you guys together, so I want to take full advantage of this, okay?
Well, it's an honor that we've got the chairman on board with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. But before we get started, Mayor, I know that you are a graduate of Notre Dame, correct? And there was a bowl game on the other night. I just got to ask about it.
Alton, I thought you were my friend, buddy.
I am your friend, but I just got to ask.
Well, let me tell you this. If you watch that game closely, if not for Alabama's special teams and their defense and their coaching and their offense, Notre Dame was the best team on that field that night.
Absolutely.
It was ugly, wasn't it?
It was. You know what? I found myself falling asleep after the 21-0 lead. But, you know, hopefully there's always a comeback, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's always next year.
That's
I hate to say that.
Absolutely.
We're going to have a good team. Whether we ever have a great enough team to stand toe-to-toe with the likes of Alabama, good gosh.
Yeah.
That truly was a blowout.
That was a freight train, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to leave that alone, okay? We'll move on to the topic that we're here to discuss today. Today we're here to talk about something I know is very near and dear to both of you gentlemen's heart, not only to you gentlemen, but I think the whole community, and that is our West Point Lake. Mm-hmm. And if anybody has ridden across any of the bridges, they've known the dryness of it, the docks that are perhaps sitting on dirt and things of that nature. Let's just kind of start out by talking a little bit about what's going on with the lake. Talk a little bit about the creation of the lake, if you don't mind for us, Mayor Luken.
Sure. Alton, as you know, the lake was impounded back in 72, 73, and there were authorized purposes. Recreation was one of a strong purpose because it was the first lake in America that had as its authorized purpose recreation. Mm-hmm. Of course, flood control, hydroelectric power, navigation, fish and wildlife. So there were a lot of great authorized purposes for the lake. And every one of those purposes, except flooding, every one of those purposes are damaged by us keeping West Point Lake levels at artificially low levels. Mm-hmm. It really has hurt the community and our ability to have a vibrant economy here locally. The waters are not just low, they're inconsistent levels, so that few weeks we have higher levels, the next few weeks they're dramatically lower, and there's no way that our fishermen or a lot of these tournaments can be absolutely sure they've got lake levels that are suitable for their needs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you're talking about the fishermen and the tournaments, and we know a year or so ago we had the fishing tournament that was here, that was held right out on the West Point Lake, and without the water there, we couldn't very well have the tournament. And we're going to talk about the economic impact to it in just a moment. But Rick, I want to ask you a question. You know, County Commissioner, why is it so important to you to be a part of the team, to be concerned about the lake levels, and what does it mean to you in the county?
Well, the majority of the lake is in Troup County, so obviously it's my responsibility to protect the asset the best we can. There are thousands of people that have invested in that lake, not only from the homeowner, but to the guy that owns the bait shop, to the marina, and people travel many, many miles to use our lake. And to the mayor's point, which is really our main issue of frustration, is the fact that we're not talking about the drought. The drought is one of those periods that we all have to sacrifice during periods of drought. What we're speaking to today is the inconsistent manner in which the Corps of Engineers manage the lake in good times and bad times. You mentioned the fishing tournament. A real problem we have is that this community, under Paige's support and guidance at the Chamber and others, and the West Point Lake Advisory, have worked very, very hard over a long period of time for us to be moving up in the ranks and reputation of a fishing lake that is worthy of having some significant tournaments here. And to build that reputation takes a long time. So now the reputation has been built. We've had success with the previous tournaments we've had. We have more tournaments that want to come here. And with the issue that we're about to talk about in a few minutes that came as a total surprise to us back in the late fall, we're unsure about what those lake levels are going to be when those tournaments are scheduled to be here. So what do? Do we take a chance and hope and pray we have water? Do we take a chance on ruining our reputation, which took us a decade to build in terms of being a premier fishing lake? So it puts this seed of doubt over not only that tournament, but the entire lake itself, from real estate to commercial activity or whatever. And there is a cloud of doubt over the future of West Point Lake. There's no question about it. And that is our frustration with this latest action that's been taken by the Corps of Engineers.
Okay, all right. And I know that both you gentlemen had a meeting some time ago, about a month ago, with the Corps of Engineers, and we have down at City Hall, and Mayor, I want to ask you to speak to this, we have a petition that the citizens can come in and sign. Talk about the petition.
Good. This petition is very important, Alton. The question is, who is the Army Corps responsible to? Who are they accountable to? They're ultimately accountable to the people of the United States, but not directly, only through the elected officials in Congress. So this petition will not only go into the scoping process with the Army Corps, and that scoping process helps develop what will be the long-term water management control plan. This water management control plan will decide how the entire Chattahoochee Basin is managed. When that water management control plan is finalized, you'll pretty much have the rules that the Army Corps will have to follow for the next 30 to 40 years. So it's important that we are able to give our input into that management plan. The latest move by the Army Corps was devastating to us. Let me give you just a backup here and tell you what this pledge is all about.
Okay.
We have been working with the Army Corps to convince them, Alton, that West Point Lake is best served in the entire region by keeping our lake at higher levels. We don't have a position that's self-centered and greedy. We want more water to the detriment of everyone else in the basin. Instead, our position is, if we have more water in West Point Lake, during times of drought, we help not only those people downstream by providing them extra water for their needs, but we actually help those users upstream who may have so little water that they have to close off the valves, so to speak, north of us, giving us less water. If we're a fully charged battery or a lake with plenty of water, we're able to help the entire basin get through a drought. Now, that helps downstream users, upstream users, the people within our region that use West Point Lake. It even helps the Army Corps. It gives them additional flexibility to be able to help the basin when there are water needs that pop up to the surface.
Let me ask you, let me just ask, what's an acceptable, because we're talking about being able to distribute upstream as well as downstream, what's an acceptable level, do you think, Mayor?
Well, as far as lake levels, you mean? All right, that's a great question. Alton, right now the Army Corps is managing our lake to the guide or maximum levels, 628 mean sea level during the fall and winter months, and then the waters in the lake begin to rise up to 635 through the spring and the summer months. And obviously those are critical months for us. Those are the months that everyone goes out for recreation, fishing, boating, general use of the lake. We've been trying to convince the Army Corps that they need to make West Point Lake a year-round lake. The geography and the climate demand that this lake be a year-round lake. So we'd like for the Army Corps to raise the lake levels from 628 in the fall and winter months up to 632.5. When spring and summer come, then fill the lake up to 635. You have this year-round lake that's very usable for all the community, the entire region, but it's also available to be able to help the basin in times of drought. Well, this has been our position with the Army Corps for a number of years, and we've been working with them and spending tens of thousands of dollars on all fronts: legal front, science and studies front, political front. What happened, as Ricky just pointed out, was sometime in the fall, the Army Corps sent a proposal to the courts that are working on this basin management and suggested that West Point Lake ought to have its waters lowered during the 5-month period of spring and summer, reduce the full pool level by 2 months. Now, we only had 5 months of full pool.
Right.
The Army Corps is suggesting that it would be good to lower the waters to only having full pool at 3 months. And that was a dramatic surprise to us and devastating to all of us who've been working with the Army Corps.
Absolutely.
Let me follow up on that if I may.
Sure.
I've only been in office 6 years, and Jeff has been working on this issue and providing the leadership of this issue for many, many years. And he certainly should get a lot of credit for the work that he's done. One of the main positions that we have taken up until now is that we have to have a working, meaningful relationship with the Corps of Engineers. That they're the ones that have control of the valve, and they're the ones that can make decisions to our advantage or to our detriment. And to Jeff's credit and others, we felt like that we had a good working relationship with them, and we meet with them periodically on a lot of different issues relative to the lake. The study that Jeff refers to has to do with the fact that from a common sense perspective, our position was if the lake is fuller, if you will, during the winter time, then we can be of more help both downstream and upstream in the following months if there is water needs above us or below us. We submitted a proposal to the Corps, and the original response to that was, it looks pretty good, but you need some more data. You got some holes in your study. So we went back and we filled in those holes, and we did it with our staff plus a consultant that we hired. So now we got a good bit of money in this study. So we had a meeting with the Corps in December, and they completely eliminated the whole idea as not being workable. The point I tried to make to the Corps is we're currently at 628. We're asking to go, and our study shows that we should be able to go to 632.5, and you're saying no. Now, if we are partners, there's a lot of water between 628 and 632.5. Is there not some common ground here that we can find? And they said, no, your study is completely dismissed. And so that led me to believe that there is a change in the relationship that we have with the Corps of Engineers. That's not the way partners treat each other.
That's right.
And that's led us to really think about what should our relationship be with the Corps of Engineers. We have called ourselves partners, but some recent actions that they've taken, that being one, and the second one Jeff can allude to relative to this petition, are giving us indications that from a local legislative perspective, they pretty much got their mind made up. They're going to do what the Corps of Engineers are going to do. And we're considering our position, if you will, in working with them.
Okay. I tell you
And that's
what, Jim,
very unfortunate, and it's something that we hoped that we'd never get to that point.
Absolutely.
But there's been some recent actions that are making us rethink our position.
Okay. I tell you what, gentlemen, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break and come back. I want to come back in and continue talking about the relationship between the Corps, the local elected officials, and also senators and representatives can help us with this, I'm going to say water war, but this concern that we have about our West Point Lake.
Okay,
All
very
right?
good.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're back from More City Week in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lucan, Mayor for the City of LaGrange, with an important public service announcement. Recent proposals by the Army Corps will result in lowering the water levels of West Point Lake. This change to the guide curve for West Point Lake will result in a summer pool that is shortened by 2 months, a reduction of 40%. These proposed changes will reduce the full pool of our lake within the prime recreational season, affecting boating, fishing, swimming, skiing, and economic interests across our entire county. As bad as conditions have been at West Point Lake over the past several years, this Army Corps proposal will only make matters worse. A petition has been created by a group of concerned local leaders addressed to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Mobile District, focused on stopping this reduction to West Point Lake levels. We're asking you to take action now to prevent any further loss to our important economic asset for LaGrange and Troup County. We'll submit this petition to the Corps on January 14th. We need your support. Please take a moment to read and sign this petition on the City of LaGrange website and let your voice be heard to prevent this tragedy to West Point Lake. Thank you.
Welcome back, City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're sitting down with Mayor Jeff Luken and County Commissioner Ricky Wolf, and we're talking about a very important subject, West Point Lake. So, gentlemen, welcome back again. And we left off a moment ago talking a little bit about the relationship between the Corps of Engineers and some of our elected officials. And we went to that commercial break. I want to ask this question before I give you gentlemen an opportunity to respond. We're talking about the Corps of Engineers, and a lot of the citizens may have heard Corps of Engineers. Talk about who is the Corps of Engineers and what office are we regulated out of, Mayor Luken?
That's a great point, Alton. First off, I want to say that the local employees under the Army Corps of Engineers have nothing to do with this decision. We've got a great relationship with those that manage West Point Lake directly on the ground here.
Okay.
It's really the Mobile District group that have made this decision under Colonel Rumsfeld and also Pete Taylor, who's a contractor that reports to Colonel Rumsfeld. Okay. Those are the two that are in charge of the Mobile District and have been responsible for this decision. Those are the two that we hope to have their minds changed about what's best for West Point Lake.
Okay, very good. And you say that's out of the Mobile District here. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the petition momentarily. Talk about, if you don't mind, both of you gentlemen can kind of jump in on this question here. I know that we have some local officials, the mayor and council, county commissioners, that we also have some other representatives and U.S. congressmen that are also involved with this. Talk about the workings behind the scenes. How important is that?
Lynn Westmoreland, from the 6 years I've been here, has really been the only United States congressman that consistently has stayed with this topic. Lynn has been extremely good, and we've had countless meetings with him, with the Corps of Engineers, Corps of Engineers and Fish and Wildlife, which is a whole nother big part of our lake issue. And he's really been a champion. Both of our United States senators have been very sympathetic to the issue, but because they represent the entire state of Georgia, they're looking at this much more in terms of a basin issue as opposed to just a lake issue. And we also have in the governor an individual who is having meetings with both state of Florida and Alabama that are trying to figure out a water sharing plan between the three states. The governor has also been very supportive of the building of reservoirs to the north that might be ways that we can collect water to take some stress off the basin. There's pros and cons of that. If we build more of those reservoirs and we amenitize them with homes and docks and boats, with no water, we're going to be replicating the same problem we have now. So in this water world, there are a lot of moving parts. And sometimes we think those are somehow connected, and sometimes it appears to us that they're not. The governor could make a decision today, if he so chooses, with the governor of Florida and Alabama that could change everything that we're talking about with you this morning. And those talks are extremely secretive. We have no input into those talks, and we have no idea of their content. So it's a very complicated, frustrating subject.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mayor Luken, if you don't mind, talk about the relationship between the elected officials, city council persons, and those other entities.
Well, and that's a great point. Good question. Really, it comes down to how many of our citizens can we get interested in signing this petition to be able to impact the elected officials in the state and in Congress. If the Army Corps or if our congressional leaders feel that our community and those people that use the lake or live within this region have no strong interest or stake in the lake levels of West Point Lake, then we're not going to be able to move the needle. We're really not going to be able to have the influence on our state and federal leaders. And that's why it's important to have as many people as possible sign this petition to let our congressional leaders and the Army Corps know that this lake is important to our citizens and our citizens want relief. And really this petition talks to 2 points. One is we do not want the full pool level for spring and summer to be dropped prematurely by 2 months. That's a reduction in 40% of the time that we're able to use the lake at full pool. And secondly, this petition says we want you to consider raising the levels during the fall and winter months to make West Point Lake a full year, full-time lake. It's a simple request, and again, we think the benefits expand to much more than just our region. The users upstream, downstream, and even to the Army Corps, the benefits are huge.
Absolutely. You know, and you're talking about, you know, full pool and everything, because we can honestly see that it is not at that now. And with the anticipation of, you know, the tournaments that are coming here, and then I guess we have to keep in mind too, you know, the points that the lake was created for, and that being flood control, electric power, navigation, and also recreation and general recreation, and also fishing and wildlife. So, and talk a little bit about, and where I'm going with this, is the economic impact to our community, if we can talk about that, and then we're going to finish up with the petition. Talk about that economic impact to the City of LaGrange and Troup County, if you don't mind.
Alton, we did a study several years ago, 2 parts. One part was trying to understand the economic impact of the lake at various levels. And then secondly, we did an environmental study of the lake as well. And in Page's report you have in front of you, I can't remember that number, but it is
153 million.
It's a big, big ticket that, and I wonder sometime if that truly is all inclusive in terms of the reach.
Everything.
You ask about commissioners and city council members. Those 2 groups for years have been very supportive of allowing us to spend the money that we have spent on a wide variety of various projects that we have done, and could not have been more supportive. And some people say, well, you don't have a whole lot to show for what you've done. Well, the other side of that is, and I fully believe this, if people like Jeff and others have not been fighting for this lake as consistently as they have over all these years, our current situation will even be worse than it is now. I fully believe that.
Absolutely.
And I think that now this petition is probably only the first time that we're going to be asking our citizens to come forward and take a stand on West Point Lake.
Absolutely.
I think that this protection of this lake is going to be an ongoing issue. And so if we'll be back, I'm sure, to ask you to sign other petitions on behalf of other issues affecting this lake.
Okay.
But this one is absolutely critical. If we can show in a community our size, if we could have 2,000 of our citizens say that, that said that this is a critical issue and they want it reconsidered, I can't imagine the elected bodies and the Corps of Engineers is a highly political organization. They can't just dismiss 2,000 people. Now, will they change their ruling? That remains to be seen. But I think that would be at their peril. Because all that does is give us more ammunition to go above the Mobile district to their superiors in Washington, which we plan to do as soon as we can get that schedule and deplete our case at that level.
You kind of led into my next question, but Mayor, I was going to ask you, what is our next plan of action?
Well, let me make 2 quick points.
All right.
The economic study that Ricky discussed, it shows a difference in value of West Point Lake to our region of $550 million. If you compare how the lake levels have been sustained in the last few years versus what it might look like if the lake levels were kept at 632.5 and higher. $550 million benefit to this region in the form of property values all the way down to bait and tackle shops, gasoline sold, hotels, tournaments, and everything. That's a huge value to our community that the Army Corps is missing.
That's right.
Second point out, and I want to point out, is that the Troup County chairman and commissioners, the City of LaGrange elected leaders, and all of the leaders, including West Point leaders that have worked with us, we're all sensitive and mindful to the fact about the risk of flooding to West Point.
That's right.
And this was one of the studies that we put together. We wanted to measure and make sure that we mitigated or reduced the risk of flooding to West Point. Not only have we shown the Army Corps that the risk of flooding is not increased at all in our study if they allow us to have 632.5, which is 2.5 feet lower than full pool.
That's right.
But our study also has given suggestions or proposals to the Army Corps of how they can reduce the risk of flooding even more by changing some of their policies. And these are some of the messages that we're going to take to Washington, D.C. in the next couple months. Ricky and I and 2 or 3 other staff members will travel to Washington, D.C. and lay out our proposals to the bosses of the Army Corps, congressional leaders, senators, and Secretary of the Army. These are the gentlemen that we hope, ladies and gentlemen, that we hope will recognize some of the solutions that we put on the table.
Very good.
And we have a meeting next week with the state, EDP at the state level, to plead them. We think this study has merit. Would you please study it?
Consider it.
And consider it, and try to use the influence of the state of Georgia maybe to get some change here. So we think we're working the right channels to hopefully get some relief to this specific issue.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank both of you all for coming on, and I know that this is something that we've been working on for a number of years. I think, I don't want to call any names, but I know a predecessor of mine was working with you on it, and I know that Mike Criddle is now working on it.
And James Emery's working on it.
James Emery. So we have a great team of individuals, great leadership that's working on it. And for the viewing audience, you've heard us mention the petition. The petition is located at City Hall if you want to just come in and sign the petition, or you can go online at lagrangechamber.com to sign on to the petition, and you also can go to lagrangega.org or troopcountyga.org to sign the petition, and we need as many signatures as possible before January the 14th.
And Alton, you can come in our office too on the 3rd floor and sign it as well at the Government Center.
Okay, very good. So you have numbers of locations, a couple locations, and a number of ways that they can come and sign a petition. Gentlemen, I want to thank both of you all for coming on and sharing this information. I know that you're probably going to get some more questions about it, and I think questions are the answers, so to help the citizens to understand the importance of keeping our lake level at a level that can be enjoyed by all, and also be able to be a contributing factor to upstream and downstream in the event that it needs to be so. So gentlemen, thank you both for coming on and sharing this information.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right.
it. Come on.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back for more City Week in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lucan, Mayor for the City of LaGrange, with an important public service announcement. Recent proposals by the Army Corps will result in lowering the water levels of West Point Lake. This change to the guide curve for West Point Lake will result in a summer pool that is shortened by 2 months, a reduction of 40%. These proposed changes will reduce the full pool of our lake within the prime recreational season, affecting boating, fishing, swimming, skiing, and economic interests across our entire county. As bad as conditions have been at West Point Lake over the past several years, this Army Corps proposal will only make matters worse. A petition has been created by a group of concerned local leaders addressed to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Mobile District, focused on stopping this reduction to West Point Lake levels. We're asking you to take action now to prevent any further loss to our important economic asset for LaGrange and Troup County. We'll submit this petition to the Corps on January 14th. We need your support. Please take a moment to read and sign this petition on the City of LaGrange website and let your voice be heard to prevent this tragedy to West Point Lake. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for City Week this week. My guests have been Mayor Jeff Lucan of the City of LaGrange and also Troup County Commissioner Ricky Wolf, and they talked about the West Point Lake issue. And they talk about the things that you can do, namely go by and sign the petition. You will find one on the 3rd floor of City Hall, and you also have one on the 3rd floor of the government building. But if you can't make it out, ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you some website addresses that you can go and sign the petition as well. You can go to lagrangechamber.com, lagrangega.org, or either troopcountyga.org to sign the petition, as we need as many signatures as possible before January the 14th. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you take advantage of this and help us to save our West Point Lake. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining for City Week this week, and as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.